Okay, now let's hear that roar again. So imagine this, you're living in the Cretaceous period, right? And these are some scary times to be alive. There's T-Rexes roaming around, there's giant birds trying to eat your face off. Life is pretty rough when you're at the top of the food chain. But what if I told you there's something even scarier lurking in the sky? Something with a wingspan wider than a fighter jet, with a beak like a spear and standing as tall as a giraffe, all while soaring through the prehistoric skies with ease. Well, you're going to want to sit down for this because we're about to take off on an adventure back in time to meet the terror of the skies itself, the Quetzalcoatlus. Now, when you think of terrifying creatures from the past, things like velociraptors or maybe the mighty T-Rex come to mind. But compared to the Quetzalcoatlus, they were just a small fry. This guy was the real deal, a massive flying reptile that could snatch prey out of the water with ease. Let me put it this way. It wasn't just the biggest flying creature in history. It was also the nightmare of anything below it. So whether you were swimming in the ocean or strolling through the Cretaceous jungle, you had to keep an eye out for this colossal predator, because if it decided to swoop down and snatch you up, well, you wouldn't even have a chance to scream. In fact, its wingspan alone was enough to block out the sun. Just imagine being on the ground, looking up and seeing this massive shadow looming over you. You'd probably think it was the end of the world. But it was just Quetzalcoatlus passing overhead. But the size of this thing was truly something to behold. It had a wingspan of over 30 meters, which is longer than 2 school buses parked end to end. To give you another idea of how big this thing was, its wings were wider than some fighter jets. Now, fighter jets are designed to be fast and agile, so they don't need super long wings for stability. But the Quetzalcoatlus was built for soaring and gliding. Those massive wings helped it catch air currents and stay aloft for hours on end. And it used them to cover huge distances in a single day, traveling hundreds of miles in search of food or maybe just a new nesting spot. But it wasn't just its wings that made the Quetzalcoatlus such a formidable predator. Its beak was also a weapon of mass destruction. It was long and sharp like a spear, perfect for stabbing and slashing at its prey. And when we say prey, we're talking about some big game, like large fish and even young whales. This bird wasn't afraid to go after the biggest, toughest animals. That lived in the ocean, and its powerful beak was more than capable of tearing them apart. Plus, it didn't need to worry about getting wet either. Thanks to its feathers, it was completely waterproof. So whether it was raining, snowing, or blazing hot outside, the Quetzalcoatlus was ready for anything. And let's not forget about its legs. They were short but strong, perfect for running and jumping. When it landed on the ground, you knew it meant business. But it didn't just use its legs for hunting. It also used them to get around on land, believe it or not. Despite its massive size, the Quetzalcoatlus was surprisingly nimble and quick on its feet. Plus, it had excellent eyesight, keen hearing, and a great sense of smell. So once it locked onto its prey, there was no escape. In fact, it was so smart that it could figure out how to crack open tough shells to get to the tasty meat inside. That's right, this guy wasn't just a brute force kind of predator. It had brains as well as brawn. Speaking of brains, the Quetzalcoatlus had one of the largest brain sizes for any species, rivaling the intelligence of modern great apes. So it wasn't just a mindless killing machine. It was a cunning hunter that could outsmart its prey. So picture this, you're floating in the water, enjoying the sunshine, and then suddenly you see a massive shadow looming over you. Before you can react, a long beak jabs into the water and stabs you. You thrash around, but it's no use. The Quetzalcoatlus has a tight grip on you and it's hauling you up into the air. You struggle to free yourself, but the bird just keeps climbing higher and higher until you're hundreds of feet above the ground. Then it opens its massive jaws and prepares to swallow you whole. But the most terrifying part of this whole ordeal is that the Quetzalcoatlus does it all with grace. It's not clumsy or awkward. It moves through the air with ease, its massive wings carrying it effortlessly overhead, and its piercing gaze never wavers from its target. You know you're in trouble, and there's nothing you can do to escape. You close your eyes, waiting for the inevitable, as the Quetzalcoatlus prepares to make you its next meal. It's hard to believe that such a creature actually existed, but the fossil evidence doesn't lie. The Quetzalcoatlus was real, and it was a terror of the skies. Unfortunately, our knowledge of this majestic creature is limited since its discovery in 1971 in northeastern Mexico. We've only found a few fragments of its skull along with other bone fragments, none of which include any complete bones. And what makes this even trickier is that the area where it was discovered is also rich in dinosaur fossils, which are much larger. So the scientists who found it had a hard time figuring out what they had stumbled upon. At first, they thought they might have found the remains of a sauropod, a long-necked herbivorous dinosaur. But as they dug deeper, they realized that they had uncovered something truly special. They carefully pieced together the skull fragments and realized they were dealing with a flying reptile, a member of the group called the Pterosauria. This group included all kinds of flying dinosaurs with different shapes and sizes. But the Quetzalcoatlus was truly unique. Its skull was huge, measuring more than a meter long with an elongated snout and a huge opening where its jaws met. It was clear that this was a predator, a hunter that had soared through the skies in search of prey. But to understand just how big this thing was, we have to take a journey back to the Cretaceous period, the last period of the Mesozoic era that lasted from 145 to 65 million years ago. This was a time when dinosaurs roamed the earth and non-avian or non-bird reptiles took to the sky. In fact, the Quetzalcoatlus was one of the last of these creatures to exist, and it was truly a sight to behold. It's estimated that it lived between 80 and 72 million years ago, just a few million years before the asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs. But the Quetzalcoatlus wasn't a dinosaur, so it wasn't affected by their demise. However, its own extinction remains a mystery. Scientists believe that changes in sea level and climate may have played a role, but we don't know for sure. What we do know is that the Quetzalcoatlus was a magnificent creature that's worth studying. By understanding its anatomy, behavior, and place in the ecosystem, we can learn more about the incredible animals that have lived on our planet. So, while we may never know exactly why the Quetzalcoatlus went extinct, we can still marvel at its beauty and power. Its name actually means feathered serpent. It was named after the Mesoamerican deity of wisdom and wind. And it's easy to see why. The Quetzalcoatlus was a graceful, powerful flyer that likely soared through the skies with ease. Its long neck and tail would have made it look like a feathered serpent as it flew, and it would have been a truly awe-inspiring sight to behold. If you want to know more about the ancient world and the incredible creatures that roamed the earth millions of years ago, then be sure to subscribe and join us on this journey through time. We bring you the latest discoveries and insights from the world of paleontology and archaeology. Whether you're interested in dinosaurs, ancient civilizations, or just want to learn more about our planet's mysterious past, we've got you covered. So don't wait. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of history and science lovers. Together, we can explore the wonders of the ancient world and uncover the secrets of our planet's past. Who knows what amazing discoveries we'll make together? So sign up today and let the adventure begin. And thank you for joining us on this journey through time. We couldn't do it without you. And until next time, keep learning and stay curious.